Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 3. Game Week 3 is looking to be a pretty interesting game week because there have been a lot of issues and a lot of frustrated managers so far, so a lot of people are looking to use chips. I'm personally using my free hit chip. I did a video on Monday where I explained why I'm doing that for my team and why it could be the best solution for your team as well. But for others, it might be better to do a wildcard if your team is completely in shambles and you don't want to save your players for longer. Then you do want to do a wildcard potentially. So I'm going to give you a couple wildcard suggestions here, actually 2 of them. One where you just do a regular wildcard as usual, and one where you have a wildcard with a free hit in Game Week 4 in mind. Because I do think with Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 being complete opposites, the teams that have good fixtures in Game Week 3 have bad fixtures in Game Week 4. The teams that have bad fixtures in Game Week 3 have good fixtures in Game Week 4. Basically, like, it is completely opposite game weeks. So I think using a free hit in Game Week 4 is actually a pretty good strategy if you do wildcard now. And if you're opposed to free hitting in Game Week 3. So yeah, anyways, that was a bit convoluted, but this is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to go through all the players in my squad from 1 through 15, all the 15 players. The first player that I present to you guys is going to be the player that I think is the most important player to have currently in FPL. And the 15th player is going to be the player that I barely had as the last player of my squad, basically, like someone that is not really that important to my squad, but made it in anyways. So yeah, let's go into the first player selected. The most important player to have currently in FPL, in my opinion, is Haaland. He has gone up from the number 2 spot since last time, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that the number 1 pick is not the former number 1 pick is not looking as bright as he has usually done. The other reason is the fact that even though Haaland blanked, I still think it looked pretty good against Spurs. Could have had at least 2 assists and a goal in that game as well if he was a bit more lucky. And a bit more skillful as well. One of the passes was pretty bad in the second half when he got gifted the ball, basically. But anyways, that is one of the reasons, or 2 of the reasons, basically. Another reason for him being number 1 pick now is the fact that the Burnley fixture in Game Week 6 and the following 2 fixtures after that, which are really good, are getting closer and closer. And I think when you're wildcarding, you do want to get in like your main players, your most expensive players in early. You don't want to wildcard and then having to find out a plan on how to get Haaland in for Game Week 6 already, like in 3 game weeks from now. It just seems a bit wasteful to basically already plan transfers ahead when you do a wildcard. You're supposed to have a wildcard for a pretty long time. Your team is going to last you a pretty long time without having to do transfers. So yeah, the closer we get to Game Week 6, the more important Haaland is going to be to have in your squad. So yeah, he comes in at number 1. We know how good he is. He has been an amazing player in FPL all around. So yeah, pretty simple choice for me at number 1 this game week. Number 2, we have Chris Wood, who's also looking really good now, especially with the fixtures. Also, again, despite blanking in the previous game week, he had a pretty tough game away against Crystal Palace. However, Palace are actually a pretty good defensive team this season, it seems like. But the biggest reason for Wood is, as you can see there, the fixtures in the next 4 are just absolutely amazing. West Ham at home now, which is looking even better now with how bad West Ham looked against Chelsea, and especially how bad it looked at defending corners in their own box. This is going to be a really nice fixture for Wood, and I feel like he is someone that you should really get into your squad pretty quickly. Then he has Arsenal in Game Week 4, which is not ideal, obviously, but then in Game Week 5 and Game Week 6, he has Burnley and Sunderland, 2 more really good fixtures. So I think Chris Wood is a pretty simple choice. He's still going to be playing a lot of minutes, even though they have Igor Jesus, and he's going to be subbed off a bit more than usual would. And also the fact that Douglas Luiz is there and potentially could take penalties away from him. I still think it's going to keep penalties. But yeah, the fixtures are just too good in the short term. Then you can sell him off after Game Week 6 against Sunderland anyway. And yeah, he just looks like a really good player to have currently. So yeah, he makes it into the squad as the number 2 pick just because of really, really good matches, Chris Wood. And also the fact that he is still performing. Nottingham Forest are still a pretty good team in the Premier League. So yeah, pretty simple choice there as well with number 2 for Chris Wood. Number 3, finally we have a player that actually scored some points last game week. Not that many popular picks did, actually. But Semenyo did get an assist. He almost got another goal as well. Was super, super close. Had a shot from really close by that hit the bar and out. If he had scored that, he would have had a 2nd hole in a row as an attacking player, and only Ekitike can basically claim that so far this season. So yeah, Semenyo, even though he doesn't have the best fixtures, I still think the fixtures are okay, especially for such a good offensive player in a team that is like that can score against anyone really. With the high pressing that Bournemouth do, Semenyo is likely to score in any game almost. Like I feel like Bournemouth can do well against any team. We've also seen in the past, Ndoye, the manager for Bournemouth, he had a really good record against the best teams in La Liga when he was back in La Liga, and I think that has sort of carried over in the Premier League. I need to look more into the stats there, but I think Semenyo is just taking another step up as a really, really, really good player. He's one of the elite talents in the Premier League, and he looks absolutely electric so far this season. So yeah, Spurs, Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds, like these are pretty simple fixtures still, even though there are like some tough teams there. Spurs and Newcastle have some pretty good players, but I think Semenyo can score in all 4 of these games. I think he's just really, really good and a really explosive talent. So yeah, he's by far my favorite midfielder actually, because the midfielders aren't really that good, I feel like, this time around. But yeah, he comes in at number 3. Number 4, we have Mohamed Salah. Still, he was number 1 pick last time around. He does get returns. He has gotten returns in both games so far, both of them in injury time. This time, super deep into injury time, getting that assist for the winning goal for Liverpool. He always finds a way to be clutch and get some extra points, both in FPL and for Liverpool. So Salah is obviously still a really good player to have. And also, if you're not free hitting in Game Week 4, that's where you really need Salah, the Burnley away fixture. So yeah, if you're not looking to free hit anytime soon, then you need to have Salah in your team basically, because that fixture against Burnley, I feel like he's the best captaincy option. You could go with Gakpo and Ekitike like some people have done successfully so far, but it is Salah. He's at some point going to deliver, and at some point he's going to score a lot of points again. We've seen that in the past as well. People have written him off and said like, oh, he's too wide now, he's hugging the touchline, he's never going to score again, basically. And then all of a sudden he just smashes it and gets like 15 pointers every single game week. So that could happen in an instant. So I feel like it's still a bit dangerous to go without him. So I've still gone with the Salah and Haaland draft for this time being, basically. But yeah, Salah hasn't really impressed that much so far. He has a tough game against Arsenal where I don't expect him to haul. That is one of the few fixtures where I don't really think Salah will get that many goals. He hasn't really proven that, at least for a long time. I don't think he scored, had 2 returns against Arsenal since 2019. You remember back like that 4-3 game back in the day and stuff, but Arsenal are so defensively solid. I think that's going to be a tough game for Salah. But if you're not free hitting in Game Week 4, then Salah is obviously the main captaincy candidate in that game week, even though you might be brave and captain Ekitike instead. But yeah, like I said, I think there are a lot of, like, there's not that many good midfielders, especially now with Saka injured, Palmer injured. Bruno Fernandes is not looking that good. So Salah is like a simple choice because yeah, he is just so reliable basically. So yeah, he comes in at number 4. Number 5, we have Reijnders. Still was a bit disappointing in Game Week 2 along with the rest of the City side. Some of that is due to the fact that Marmoush and Cherki played, and Marmoush especially took up some of the positions that Reijnders had in the first game that made him look so appealing and made him go number 3 in my draft last time around. But I do think still that Reijnders is going to be super good, and whenever City are leading, like they did against Wolves, he'll be able to drift forward and potentially get some goals and be really good and get a lot of points for City. So I think Reijnders is still a fantastic value pick at, what, 5.7 he is now, I think. He's someone that I would still definitely have in my squad because, yeah, City are still going to be really good and electric going forward, especially in games where they take the lead. And Reijnders is going to be playing most games and going to be having a pretty attacking role altogether, especially when Marmoush is not playing. And we saw that towards the end of the game as well when Dorgu came on for City. Reijnders had a way more offensive position in the team. So yeah, he's going to score a lot of points this season still. I don't really doubt that at all. So he comes in at number 5. Small step down from last time, but he is still a really good pick, Reijnders, at number 5. Number 6, we have Cucurella, who seems like the best defender to have currently in the game, in my opinion. He both has really good attacking threat and really good clean sheet potential. Chelsea look pretty good so far this season. I mean, the first game against Palace was not like super good, but they still kept the clean sheet in that game. And then the second game against West Ham, they just absolutely trashed West Ham, and Cucurella got an assist and was kind of unlucky to concede as well. So Cucurella is fantastic. Chelsea's fixtures aren't the best, actually, especially after Game Week 3 and Game Week 4. I feel like Fulham at home and Brentford away are pretty good fixtures for a clean sheet, especially for Cucurella. But after that, like I said, he can get a clean sheet, he can get an attacking return, he can get both in the same game, as we saw a couple of times last season when he got 15 pointers. So Cucurella just seems super good. He's completely nailed for Chelsea as well. And he just looks like a really nice player to have, and he's someone that I'm looking desperately to bring into my squad at some point, but it's going to be a bit difficult for me, but I wish I had him from the start of the season. If I was wildcarding now, I would definitely have him. I do have him on my free hit draft as well, so he is going to get me some points, hopefully in game week 3. And then hopefully he quiets down after that, because I don't have him most likely, and I won't be able to get him easily. But if you're wildcarding, you should definitely pick him in your squad. Number 7, we have Dorgu, who I also had last week. Again, like every single player so far has been players that I've had in the Game Week 2 drafts. I don't think really Game Week 2 changed that much for me in terms of what I expect from the players. Especially Dorgu, who looked more of the same, super attacking, playing for a pretty solid defensively Man United side. Apart from corners against, they're pretty bad at that. But other than that, they don't really concede that many chances, Man United. So clean sheets, pretty good potential. Attacking potential is super high for Dorgu, who's super attacking. Has Burnley at home now, which is a great fixture. Then 2 pretty bad fixtures. But defenders, I don't really care that much if you have some bad fixtures mixed in between, because you are going to have a pretty good rotation of defenders where anyone can step in and play. Instead, you can just bench the worst defenders, because you usually want to play 3 defenders and then you'll have 2 people on the bench. So you'll always have someone with a good game week, hopefully, if you set up your squad right. And I think that's going to be the case with this squad. So yeah, don't really mind the bad fixtures that much, but the good fixtures against Burnley at home, Brentford away in game week 6 as well, and also Sunderland, I think, at home in game week 7, if I'm not mistaken, or a pretty easy game at least in game week 7. Some pretty nice fixtures for Dorgu in the immediate future. So yeah, super attacking, good defensive potential, and some good fixtures mixed in between. Dorgu comes in at number 7. Number 8, we have Christian Romero. I feel like I sort of need to stop neglecting the Spurs defense, because I've sort of been not picking players from there in my wildcard drafts as well. I think Romero is personally my favorite. He's the sweet spot between Van de Ven and Pedro Porro, in my opinion. He has that defensive contribution potential, as he showed in the last game when he got defensive contribution points. He's pretty good at that, and it seems like with Thomas Frank now as the manager, they're going to have better chances of getting defensive contribution points there, Spurs. He's also a pretty good set-piece threat for scoring goals, which will be really handy in Game 4 against West Ham, especially, who are really bad at corners. And he's cheaper than Pedro Porro also, so yeah, I think he's just a really good pick all around, and Spurs defense has looked pretty damn solid so far, or they haven't conceded in any of the games, so that at least counts for something, even though both Burnley and City could have scored, but they didn't, and Spurs kept a clean sheet in both games. And Romero is a really talented player. Van de Ven is really talented as well. They just have a really good squad in general, and now that they don't have to play with a high line all the way up to the midfield like they did under Postecoglou, they're going to keep a lot more clean sheets. And also with Thomas Frank, it seems like they're going to get more defensive contribution points also. So yeah, Romero comes in at number 8. Number 9, Mats Sels is back in goal. Again, the fixtures are king here for Nottingham Forest. Of course, goalkeepers, you want to look more long-term perspective. But even long-term, like, the fixtures aren't that bad for Nottingham Forest, and a goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest at least. So yeah, they're still looking pretty good defensively. They're still going to keep a lot of clean sheets. And with the next few fixtures, Sels is going to be a really good value pick. He was my favorite goalkeeper before the start of the season. He is my current goalkeeper in both my free hit draft and in my regular team. So yeah, I think he's pretty good value overall, Sels. And Sanchez has not looked that good for Chelsea. I feel like he's a bit shaky. I don't really trust him starting every single game for Chelsea. We also saw last season that he didn't play every game because he was sometimes rested before a major Champions League game. I think that could happen again. But maybe that's later on in the season rather than at the start of the season. But yeah, we'll see. But Sels is really good value. Fantastic fixtures, especially in the next 4. So he comes in at number 9. Number 10, we have still Joachim Andersen from Fulham. He did not keep a clean sheet last time, but he did get the defensive contribution points against Man United. 4 points for him, which is always nice to see. Yeah, it's just interesting with the defensive contribution points. I haven't really still made up my mind whether I like them that much or not, but it adds a different flavor to the game, which is interesting to get to know, at least as we are getting used to it now in the first few game weeks and seeing who are good defensive contribution players. But Andersen has been historically really good at defensive contributions. It seems like that's going to continue, especially in second halves for some reason. Both first halves, he's had 3 combined defensive contributions, and in the second halves, he's had almost 20. So I don't really know what it is with Andersen. He keeps getting a lot of defensive contributions late in games. But yeah, he gets them anyway and gets some points from it sometimes as well. And also the good fixtures there. Leeds at home and Brentford at home. I feel like those are really good fixtures to have for Andersen, where you have the make weight for Dorgu, for example. Like I said, you can bench Dorgu in game week 4 and 5. That's where you can play Andersen when he plays against Leeds and Brentford in those 2 game weeks. So pretty nice rotation there with Dorgu for the next 4 fixtures. So yeah, he makes sense as a number 10 pick. Number 11, we have King, the same team there, Josh King from Fulham. He's played 70 plus minutes in both games so far. He's 4.5, just super cheap. So I do quite like him. He was also through one-on-one on goal against Man United. Altay Bayindir did actually a pretty good save in that regard, but King has looked pretty damn good so far. The points returns haven't come from him yet, but they are coming at some point, potentially even in Game Week 4 and 5 against Leeds and Brentford, two really good fixtures. I do think he'll continue to start. Fulham haven't signed anyone, and it doesn't seem like they're likely to sign anyone either. So I think King is going to continue to start because he is only going to get better. He's only 18 years old, and he looks fantastic so far. So yeah, I'm going to keep him at 4.5. I think he's a really nice option to have as a really cheap guy. You can just have on your bench most game weeks, but you can play him at a pinch and hope that he does well. So yeah, he comes in at number 11. Number 12, we have João Pedro. He is the final striker that I do have. I know a lot of other people are much higher on him than I am. I have still selected him, even though it seems like now that Palmer is going to be out only for Game Week 3, potentially, and then hopefully he'll be back for Game Week 4. So I don't think he's going to be like super like the main man on Chelsea with penalties and all that stuff, which he would have been if Palmer was out for longer. If Palmer was out long term, I think João Pedro would be way more interesting to have in FPL. But with Palmer there and no penalties, his value goes down a little bit. So part of the reason why I'm skeptical is the fact that he did get a lot of points this past game, like 15 points, which was amazing and really rewarded his owners. But he scored from corners, which is kind of random, or he is good at positioning himself in corners, and he did a really good job at them. But yeah, that's not something that's like super repeatable. So he hasn't really shown anything that much from open play yet, apart from that assist for Pedro Neto in the second game. That's made me like go like, wow, I need to have him. But also Chelsea's fixtures after Game Week 4 aren't the best. And in Game Week 4, I do have some doubts about João Pedro playing because he's been selected for the Brazil squad. He's going to go on international break. He's going to come back for Game Week 4 when potentially Palmer's back into the squad. They have Rory Delap as the striker. I don't think he's going to play that many minutes in Game Week 4 against Brentford, which is his best fixture in the next 4 fixtures. And they do have tougher fixtures even after the next 4 as well. So I do still have him in the squad though, because he is a really good player with really high upside, especially now against Fulham. I think he has a really good chance to get some points, even though Fulham are pretty good defensively. João Pedro is most likely going to be on penalties in that game and going to be playing pretty centrally with Palmer out. So he's really good for that game. You could always just keep him and then sell him for someone like Mateta, for example. If you want to, I think that makes a lot of sense. Mateta has a pretty tough game now, but then he has 2 really nice fixtures after that. So you could just hold on for João Pedro for 1 week and then sell him to Mateta, or potentially find money to bring in Ekitike as well in Game Week 4 if need be, because he has Burnley and he's one that I would really like to have in the squad as well, as I'll get to when we get to the On the Cusp section. That's a bit of a spoiler for the On the Cusp section. But yeah, João Pedro makes it in. He's really good for this game week, and then you can just sell him after that if you want to, or if he looks fit and ready to play in that game against Brentford. Then yeah, you could just keep him because he is still a really good asset, as he showed against West Ham. He can get some points from corners and also from open play. So yeah, he is a pretty good player, but I have some reservations with him and Chelsea players in general because of the fixtures. But again, also that's another point with Chelsea and Cucurella on top of that. They might just be super good. They might be at that like Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City type of level where any game they have is like a favorable game because they are a really good team. So yeah, he is a decent player to have. Not like essential in my view. He's the one that I would leave out if I were to pick a different striker, but currently I feel like he's the best option as we still await what's going to happen with Isak and Ekitike in Liverpool, and they play Arsenal this game week. So yeah, João Pedro in at number 12. Number 13, Dubravka. He's the backup goalkeeper that plays, the only 4.0 goalkeeper that plays regularly in FPL, so he's a pretty simple choice, even though he doesn't have the best fixtures, doesn't play for the best team. He did get me 6 points this past game week though, so I'm going to be really happy about that and grateful for that. So yeah, he's a backup goalkeeper that plays. That's really why he's in the squad and makes it in at number 13. Number 14, we have Don Ndoye, again with the great fixtures that Nottingham Forest has, or have. That's a bit of a discussion, a separate point if it's has or have for teams. But anyways, I'm not going to go into that now. But Dan Ndoye has looked fantastic in the first 2 games. Scored a really nice header, like fantastic finish in the first game. And then the second game, he had an even better assist, like one of the best assists you'll ever see in the second game against Crystal Palace. He just looks super, super, super good. I think he's a really underrated player. I've talked about this before as well. He is someone that is... yeah, looking like a great talent. The one thing that makes me hesitate a little bit when it comes to Ndoye, because he has really great fixtures and he is really good and he has played so far 70 minutes just about in both games. He gets subbed off a little bit. But the fact that Nottingham Forest have signed so many new players now, McAtee, Hutchinson, Douglas Luiz, Kalimuendo, like there's so many players that can play in Ndoye's position. That makes me a little bit uneasy about him and his playing time going forward. I do think against West Ham he's going to be pretty nailed. I think the new players are still acclimatizing to the team, so I think Ndoye is going to be the preferred player. And also, like with the assist and goal he's had so far, why would you bench him at all? I think he's going to still be the starter for all these 4 games, but I have a slight hesitation, and his minutes are going to be a bit more at risk, especially being subbed off earlier than expected. So yeah, that's the few hesitations I have with Ndoye, but for 6.0, he's a really good midfielder. I only had 6.0 exactly to bring in a player here. I did consider someone else. I did consider Dorgu, but I went for Ndoye in the end. Of course, there's another player as well. I'll get to on the Cusp section. That's pretty close in value. That is also really popular currently. But Ndoye is someone that I think is a bit underrated now, especially with the fixtures coming up. He could be the highest scoring player in the next 4 game weeks. You heard it here first, I guess. And finally, number 15, we have Gudmundsson from Leeds. Again, like the fixtures are like okay, he's 4.0. He's only there because he's the cheapest possible, and I didn't have any more funds available in the bank. But Leeds have looked pretty solid defensively, not necessarily against Arsenal, but Arsenal are a really good team. But the first game against Everton, they looked pretty good defensively, Leeds. So yeah, he's just someone that can be on the bench, and at a pinch, if you need him to start, he can start and potentially get some points. He is an attacking fullback who does get like decent-ish defensive contribution numbers. So he could get some points, but yeah, he's not essential by any means. That's why he's 15th pick in the squad. So yeah, 15 players have been selected. Only 4 players are with are named, or their names are with green. I need to figure out how to say that properly, but yeah, Sels, Romero, Ndoye, and João Pedro are written in green font, I guess is the correct term. So that means that they are new players, and that also means that 4 players have dropped out since last time. So let's talk about those 4 players that have dropped out and why they dropped out. First and foremost, Jørgen Larsen had another game where he didn't really look all... Well, he had a good game week 1 where he looked enticing for half an hour against Man City. And then they struggled a little bit. But second game, Wolves struggled a bit more to create chances against Bournemouth. Larsen was actually subbed off a bit early and seemed a bit uneasy. That's one of the reasons. But the main reason why he's dropped out is the fact that he is heavily linked with a move to Newcastle United, which isn't necessarily the worst move, especially if he is, especially if you're free hitting in Game Week 4. He could be the ideal candidate if they get the transfer in time for the Leeds game. He's ready for that game. But there's just too much uncertainty with him. Is he going to stay with Wolves? Is he going to go to Newcastle? Are Wolves good enough offensively if he does stay with them? Is he going to be starting every game week for Newcastle if he goes there? Are they going to sign another striker on top of him? Who knows, really? So there's just too much worries with Strand Larsen, so I have had to drop him out. Neco Williams as well has dropped out just to make room for Romero and Ndoye for that matter. I don't have another Nottingham Forest spot open, but I do think Neco Williams, if I had the money, he would definitely be in consideration rather than someone like Andersen, or Gudmundsson for that matter. But he is a bit too expensive, so he has also dropped out. Rodgers, another pretty disappointing game week. I wouldn't really sell Rodgers. I'm currently keeping him. Of course, I am free hitting, so I'm not using him this game week, and then I'm going to get him back for game week 4 and beyond there when he has really good fixtures. So the fixtures are really good. He was pretty nice in the second half against Brentford when he played more centrally. He looked a bit more dangerous. I think at some point he's going to score goals. I think he's still a good pick, but there are better options currently in the game, especially for a cheaper price, because I don't really have the money to have him. And I do prefer some other assets at the 6.5 or 6.0 mark. So yeah, he's dropped out. And finally, Sanchez as well in the goal. I did mention it when I talked about Sels. I just don't trust Sanchez that much. He did concede, and again, pretty bad goalkeeping from him at the Paqueta goal. So yeah, I just don't trust Sanchez that much. And I think Sels is just a better goalkeeper currently with the fixtures that they do have, especially. So Sels has come in for Sanchez. So those are the 4 players that are dropped out since last time. Let's talk about the 3 on the cusp players before I show you a bit of a different draft if you want to free hit in Game Week 4 finally in the video. So first and foremost, the on the cusp players that were close to making the squad but didn't. I did mention Neco Williams as someone that I could have had also if I didn't have Ndoye and had a free Nottingham Forest spot, and I did have some money in the bank. Milenkovic would be someone that I would definitely consider, especially this game week against West Ham. He is nailed on in my free hit team because I think he's going to score a corner goal, a set piece goal against West Ham, because West Ham are so bad at defending them and Milenkovic is so good at scoring them. So yeah, I think he's a really good asset. Kudus is the midfielder that is on a lot of people's wish lists currently. I have a bit of a storied history with, or whatever you say, with Kudus, like not the best history with him last season. when he was a West Ham player. I'm a West Ham fan. Obviously left for Spurs, which is not really the best either. So I'm still a bit like apprehensive when it comes to Kudus. I do think he is a bit overrated in general. But as an FPL asset, he has looked pretty dangerous so far, at least. Like, he has been, I think he was more impressive to me almost in the Man City game than he was against Spurs, even though he got 2 assists against Burnley, even though he got 2 assists against Burnley and got nothing against City. But yeah, he has a lot of speed, especially when they go on the counter. He looks pretty good. You also know what he can do with the ball at his feet. Like, he has so much talent, and he scored a lot of points in the first season for West Ham. He was actually a pretty good asset in FPL, so I think he is a really good asset still, but I do not have enough money with the Ndoye player there, or Ndoye price point. And I do think Semenyo and the likes are better value, basically. I just don't have that price point in my team, pretty much, which is a bit of a red flag. I do have that with Semenyo, but I do prefer Semenyo quite a little bit over Kudus. He is the Ghanaian superstar. After all, it's not Kudus. It is Semenyo. But yeah, Kudus is still good. He is someone that has really good fixtures for the foreseeable future. I'm just not completely sure if he's the best Spurs asset either, with Brennan Johnson and Reijnders looking better so far, but they're a bit more uneasy when it comes to who's going to play or not. So yeah, Spurs assets offensively, I haven't really figured that out yet. But Kudus is someone that would definitely be in consideration, but he just didn't make the squad for one reason or another this time around. Ekitike is someone that I really wish to have. I do think it feels like the Isak thing is just, of course, it's dragging out. Ekitike, first and foremost, is someone that I really regret not having from Game Week 1, especially considering I knew I was going to free hit in Game Week 3 when he has Arsenal. I could have easily taken a punt on him and just hoped that Isak wouldn't come in, because as a starting striker for Liverpool and how good he is, as he's shown so far, for 8.5, that's an absolute steal. So if Isak doesn't go to Liverpool, everyone will want to buy Ekitike in Game Week 4. And that's why I sort of was a bit apprehensive about not having him rather than João Pedro, but I just couldn't find the money either. It is very tight for money here in this squad because Salah and Haaland are in the squad. That makes it difficult to get everyone else that I want to have in the squad. So yeah, I didn't find room for Ekitike, but I wish I could. But so yeah, there is an alternative here. If you want to downgrade Ndoye to like a 4.5, you could go with someone like Dauman, for example, and just trust that you have enough playing defenders and you have enough good players to get you by, because Dauman is not going to play that much. But you know, he played 26 minutes in the match, and I think they're going to play him quite a bit just to get his first Premier League goal as well and break that record for the youngest Premier League goal scorer. And also, he's just super talented. He should get some playing time towards the end of the game, Dauman. So he's like a decent option. But if you downgrade Ndoye to Dauman, you have enough money in the bank to go from João Pedro to Ekitike. That might be the ideal thing to do if you're not free hitting in Game Week 4. Obviously, if you are free hitting in Game Week 4, Ekitike is not really that important, because Game Week 4 against Burnley is the main reason why you want to bring him in. But I think in general, like, if you do wildcard and bring in Ekitike, it does make sense. Not only for Game Week 3, like Game Week 3 is not the best against Arsenal, and then Game Week 4, Isak might have joined Liverpool, but I don't think Isak is going to play straight away. Even if he goes to Liverpool, he's going to have to basically have a preseason, which is going to take him like a month. So I don't think Isak is going to likely start until like Game Week 6 or 7 potentially. So by that time, Ekitike will have the good fixtures against Burnley and Everton, and then you can just sell him again after that. So I think Ekitike is a really good asset that I wish I could have had in the wildcard draft, but I just didn't find the room for him. But yeah, again, especially if you have 2 free transfers saved up, you could always just have João Pedro for this game week, which is a better player to have for Game Week 3. And then next game week, you can do that double move of Ndoye after the West Ham match, or potentially like someone else if someone else gets injured or something like that, and bring in Ekitike for Game Week 4, which is going to be the most important game week to have him in, basically. So yeah, so that is the full squad and the only Cusp players and the players that have dropped out. But like I said, I did promise that I'm going to have another like alternative version if you do want to free hit in Game Week 4, which I think is a pretty good option, because that will make you have a better team for Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 in total, because those 2 game weeks are really very much different. And rather than spreading it thin over the 2 game weeks and having like not a super good team in either of them, you can have 2 super good squads for both game weeks, which I think is a pretty good idea. So there's going to be 4 changes to the team if you free hit in Game Week 4. There are some teams that are better off, obviously, because they have a really bad Game Week 4 fixture and really good fixtures before and after. So yeah, let's just go into the squad and see the alternative if you are looking to free hit in Game Week 4 potentially. So this is the alternative. 4 changes. The main one is that Salah has dropped out, because obviously if you are free hitting in Game Week 4, which is when Salah plays against Burnley, that is the main reason to have Salah, that fixture. But if you're free hitting in Game Week 4, you're going to have Salah there anyway on your free hit, so you don't need him in your current wildcard squad. So Cunha comes in instead. He is the best captaincy option, in my opinion, in Game Week 3. So you get a super good player there. And you also get a lot of money in the bank, obviously, going from Salah at 14.5 to Cunha at 8.0. You get a lot of money in the bank to upgrade other positions. So I have upgraded from Ndoye to Fernandes. Again, Fernandes is someone that is more of a short-term pick. You can just have him against Burnley and then sell him potentially after the free hitting Game Week 4 where you place Man City. You don't need to play him there because you have a free hit. And then against Chelsea and Brentford and Sunderland after that, those are pretty good fixtures. So if Fernandes has looked pretty good against Burnley and Man City, and if he's still on penalties, you'll get to know that by the time Game Week 5 comes around. So if that's the case, you can just keep him. But if not, you can sell him and you can get a lot of money back and just buy whoever is looking like the best midfielder. Potentially Kudus, who you could have as a replacement there, ready made. But again, Kudus didn't make this squad either because his best game is against West Ham, which is Game Week 4. So he can be on your free hit in Game Week 4 as well in this variation. So you do get his best fixture. You get to load up on him and any other Spurs player, whether that's Solanke starting or if it's... it could actually be Solanke starting because that is when Reijnders is back from international break. So Solanke could be a really good pick for free hit Game Week 4 with Reijnders getting that rest after the international break. So that's another good reason to potentially free hit in Game Week 4 and do this variation of the draft basically. But yeah, Kudus is someone that could come in later in Game Week 5 potentially if you are free hitting in Game Week 4 and doing this draft. So Fernandes is someone that is just a placeholder, but he could also be someone that you keep long term because the fixtures after Man City, if you just remove the Man City fixture, which you'll get to do at a free hit in Game Week 4, then you have Chelsea at home, which is still decent. I still think Chelsea is a team you can score against, even though they are pretty good defensively. And then Brentford and I think it's Sunderland the game week after that, which is pretty good for Fernandes. So yeah, tripling up on Man United if you do free hit when they do play City. Milenkovic as well, who is someone that I mentioned on the Cusp section last time, or just now actually. The West Ham fixture, again, super good for him. I think he's going to be a potential double-digit haul type of guy there. Also has a really good fixtures against Burnley and Sunderland. He is the ideal looking for his candidate to have. He's not going to be dropped from the team. He's always going to be a set-piece threat, so he's a pretty secure player to have in your team. And you have the money in the bank now with no Salah because you're getting Salah on the free hit in Game Week 4 anyway. Agbadu replaces Andersen as well, because he has better fixtures, because Andersen has a really good fixture against Leeds at home in Game Week 4, but that's when you're going to free hit and bring him in on the free hit anyway. And then Agbadu has better fixtures in Game Week 3 specifically against Everton at home, and then Leeds as well in the game week after. And he has really good fixtures after these next 4 fixtures, Agbadu as well. He has just better fixtures compared to Andersen in total, so especially if you're free hitting in Game Week 4. So those are basically the 4 variations to the team that makes up the free hit Game Week 4 type of squad that I have here with the wildcard. So yeah, what do you want a wildcard? What do you want a free hitting Game Week 3? What do you want a wildcard and then free hitting Game Week 4? There's a lot of different options for you, especially if you're panicking a bit and you don't like your team at all and you want to make drastic changes. So yeah, best of luck to you guys with your team in Game Week 3, whether you are using chips or if you're just navigating it with free transfers. It just really depends on your team, really, what is the best tactic for you guys. And that's what I'm going to discuss a bit in the FPL Scope podcast tomorrow with Kevin, hopefully. I'm going to see if I can record the video and talk with him, because that's where we're going to go through a couple different teams. We're going to go through Kevin's team. We're going to go through Kemo's team, who is the 3rd founding member of the FPL Scope. We're also going to look at the manager of the week, the manager that had the most points this game week, because this was a really low scoring game week, but the manager of the week actually had 98 points, which is absolutely crazy, and got them in a really surprising way. So yeah, stay tuned for that, for the FPL Scope podcast with Kevin tomorrow, as I'm going to be in London to record it next to him basically. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So anyways, with all of that in mind, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching as always. See you next time. Bye bye.